Hi there, thank you for joining Section 2 on Student Processes. My name is Joanna Nivedemska. I am a Solutions Engineer here at D2L, and today I'm going to be leading our student-focused demonstration. Starting with Section 2.1 assessments, we're going to be diving into gradebook and instructor feedback and ePortfolio experts, getting big yeses to requirements both 50 and 51. So transitioning to the Brightspace platform here, we're going to go ahead and again talk about requirement number 50 first, demonstrating on how to view the gradebook and some instructor feedback on our scores and submissions. So working from our sample English course here, I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my grades area. The grades area is laid out perfectly for our learners. We can actually see things like categories, the grades we've achieved, and also comments and assessments that are respectively added. As you can see, for one of my discussion posts here, I have received a passing grade and also some overall feedback from my instructor allowing me to see what I did well. They've even attached a video for me to reference, and I can also look at a graded rubric here allowing me to see exactly what criteria I've satisfied and, more importantly, criteria that I have yet to perhaps master. Brightspace is packed full of great tools for us learners to really dive in and seeing exactly what we're doing and what we're doing in comparison to the rest of the class. The user progress dashboard allows me to see multiple indicators around some grades, objectives, really any content or tool that I'm interacting with as a student. So if I want a nice high-level understanding, I can go ahead and click on my summary and kind of go through all these different key performance indicators. The quizzes tab here is very useful because not only does it allow us to see the mark we have within the class, but if I hover my cursor over this specific graph, I do have some accessibility rich features that are well known right away, allowing me to see some descriptive text for this specific image. Again, letting me know that, of course, Brightspace is accessible, especially for learners, but also letting me know some information about where I am within the class, what the average is from the class, and kind of where I land within that. Okay, so that takes care of, again, section 2.1 under assessments, getting yeses to both requirements 50, and now focusing on the ePortfolio export. So again, as a student, I can navigate to my main homepage from the environment and selecting ePortfolio, where I can access all of my different artifacts that I have stored here over my career at the university or institution that I am taking my courses in. A nice great list is shown to me exactly of all those different artifacts I have saved. From here, I can also invite people to join and provide some anonymous feedback. And from here, I can also invite people to join externally by clicking the share button and providing them a link that they can visit externally. But I can also export these individual items straight from here as well. Under the My Items area, again, I have a nice different breakdown of all the different artifacts or perhaps collections and presentations that I have saved over the years. But we do, again, give you more options in terms of being able to export and import things into our ePortfolio by just selecting the More Actions drop-down menu here. This view allows me to, again, export things out of my ePortfolio, either selecting everything all at once or more of a shopping list, allowing me to really dive in and choose specific items and getting a little bit more of a granular approach to exporting items from my ePortfolio. So again, that brings us to the final transition between 2.1 assessments. Diving into assessment activities for section 2.2, reviewing requirements 52 and 53 in terms of peer review tools and assignment submissions. Okay, so again, folks, just another quick transition here into the Brightspace platform for a new student. Okay, so diving into that content area is really where we're going to be spending a lot of our time as students. There is a very great linear learning path provided by my instructor where I know that if I click on Unit 1 Poetry, I can dive through all of these different types of assessments all within the same window. So by selecting the first content item, I'm brought to a nice rendering of that specific content, where I have some interactive elements explaining the different content to me, providing different definitions, and also allowing me to navigate between the different content items within this Unit 1 Poetry module with the use of these handy arrow tools. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through some of these content items again, kind of a life and the day of a student these days. We have things like PowerPoints, some different content for us to go through. If I keep clicking through next, there are a few more elements that I need to consider before kind of going on into my assessments. And again, allowing me to preview all this information before I dive into my assessment is very great. Looks like one of the steps here, again, as I'm going through this module, is to actually complete a quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and start that quiz and go through the functionality here. Okay, so really going to test my my English knowledge here in terms of poetry terms. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this quiz, see if I can get a good mark here from my limited knowledge. I believe this is imagery. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and submit my quiz, and I'm also able to see my results right away, right? So surprisingly did pretty good on my first try here. It's been submitted successfully, and I can go ahead and click done to get a little bit more information on what the attempts I've had, if I've done this before, the class statistics, of course, the score distribution, and also if I've achieved competency associated with a specific item as well. Okay, so that's one example of how we can complete quizzes with the assessment type for the specific requirements. Going through another type of assignment here, I have a video assignment, and this is going to focus on section 52, a video assignment peer review. So I can actually see one of my peers here, Phil,
The poem that I'm reciting is called
all have been listening to this morning. Phil has actually submitted a poem reading for us. As you can see, I'm one of the first to be able to comment on this. I'm going to go ahead and provide some peer review here for Phil, letting him know he did a great job. So as I start typing, you'll notice that the video itself actually pauses at that specific timestamp that I'm providing the feedback for. Again, allowing Phil to know exactly what I'm talking about at which point. Okay. If I scroll past this, I can actually even associate a star rating for Phil, letting him know he did a really good job, or maybe Phil needs to work on a few more things here. That's fine. But I can also reference my own submission for this assignment, where I read a poetry reading from the Milk and Honey book by super interesting. Highly recommend, folks. I'm not going to make you sit through this right now, but anyway, it's a great exercise for engaging our students within video. And again, I can actually see some of the comments that would be attached here for, again, requirement number 52 for that video submission peer review. Okay, so moving on past this part into our assignment submissions, right? So again, I have another assignment that I need to actually submit here. Rather than just being a plain video assignment, I can actually just drag and drop my submission right in here and upload it as soon as I am ready for that poetry slam, right? So very easy, very Dropbox-like type of interface, allowing me just to drag and drop some content here and being able to submit my assignment right away. Okay, so now that I've got that specific module done, one of the requirements, especially in section 53, one of the things we have not get to yet that we're going to dive into right now is the discussions area. Okay, so as of right now, I have a nonfiction cafe peer review that I can kind of jump into and be able to provide some feedback. Okay, so this is Amy sharing some resources within the class, right? So would this be a little bit more of a peer review thread? She'd be able to perhaps post some of her work, and I'd be able to reply to that thread, allowing for some feedback, again, allowing that rich media integration where I can provide some text, or I can actually drop in a video of myself and kind of go from there, again, allowing for that rich kind of discussion and activities for assignment submissions. Perfect, folks. So again, that brings us to the summary of the specific tab where we have for 2.2 getting yeses to both requirements 53 or 52 and 53. Okay. The next part of the presentation is going to be revolving around section 2.3 in regards to collaboration and work groups. So we're going to focus on 54 and 55, again, getting those yeses for your recommendations here. Number one, for group setup here for section 54, a lot of it was shown in 1.5 earlier with my colleague Phil Vole. But right now we're going to focus on groups and how students can sign up for self-enrollment groups. And then again, we're going to jump back into that discussion and feedback peer review area area within the discussions, really making sure that we're feeling good about that discussion topic today. Okay, so again, navigating back to my Brightspace instance here, and again, we're going to be working out of the same sample course just to keep everybody on track here. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to that groups area. What Brightspace does is it allows us to actually enroll and self-enroll within specific groups, right? So I have a choice of 2 groups here where we do have their own individual assignment, discussions, and locker options. So first off, I'm going to look at available groups, right? So if I did perhaps have, a different type of requirement for our groups, perhaps the description here could include group 1 maybe focuses on section A, whereas group 2 focuses on section B, or perhaps we even have different times, right? Where group 1 would start at maybe 12 and group 2 maybe at 2 o'clock, right? So if you do have more of a time strain or perhaps a specific module example here, it's very easy to add those descriptions within these groups and allow students like ourselves to join that group and all of a sudden have access to that group's assignment, discussion, and locker area. Okay. Perfect. So focusing on the peer review feedback for discussions under requirement 55. We do have a peer evaluation poem draft here, and we also have a final group assignment discussion. So for this specific example, again, in terms of peer review feedback, this is a great example for me to see some instructions of what I need to do for peer review, right? I'd have to copy and paste my poem in the initial post and review at least 2 other peers' post and review and provide that critical feedback for them. So what I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to click on Jacob Lee's submission here. We are a Canadian company, so we love our Canadian moose jokes. If anyone was interested in knowing the plural form of moose is not meese, but just moose in general. So if you ever have any Canadian trivia you need to get through, you're gonna nail that one. But as you can see, having seen Jacob's initial post, I can go ahead and reply to that thread, and you can see I already have done so under CJ Briggs here, letting him know it's a creative poem. And then Amy Chen kind of chiming in here, allowing us to see, hey, good work, Jacob, and it is moose. So she has a little bit of that Canadian trivia there as well. Amazing, folks. We're doing really well. We don't have too much time together, so I'm going to do my best to kind of go through all these different sections here, diving into and kind of all encompassing the next few sections in terms of 2.4 all the way to 2.6, diving into requirements 56, 57, and 58. Again, being able to attach a yes to all these requirements and just kind of proving that with our next part of the presentation here as we go through it. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right back into where we love kind of working from, our trusty sample course. So the next part, we're going to talk about being able to send out communication to our students, or for us as students to be able to email anyone within our class. So this is definitely a standard across the board within the Brightspace platform. Even when I hover over any image of the students, I can kind of dive in and see some of their badges that they've earned, some of their awards. But if it's not myself specifically, I can actually send them an email or an instant message right from any interface that I would require to students to kind of communicate with each other over, right? But we don't expect you to have to go into your discussion posts and find people that way. Our class list tool will do that for you. From here, you can find, your instructors or the other students within your course here, and we can actually email them all in bulk, or perhaps attach 1 or 2 people in the specific email or an instant message between them. So of course, it is always super easy for us to, again, maybe email the whole class list or specific people within that class from the class list tool. Okay. Perfect. So that takes care of 56. The next part, we're going to actually dive into section 57, where we're going to be transitioning our views to the Pulse app. Okay, so maybe what I'm going to do is just make this a little bit less busy and close my beautiful PowerPoint presentation here and just kind of walk you through the Brightspace platform without too much happening in the background. Okay, so, and again, a great app. What we can actually do from the Pulse app isn't really limited in any way. It's very much a replica of what we can do within the Brightspace platform, just in an online setting. Also, really want to hit home on the fact that the Brightspace platform is responsive, right? So as a learner, I know that I don't need to have the app. I can actually have the same interaction on the browser version without needing to download specific software. So I'm just going to show that quickly here before we actually focus on the app. You'll notice that as I'm kind of shrinking my browser or the resolution, mimicking more of a mobile device, being able to have that same kind of, app interface almost in the browser. But again, things like push notifications and having an app are some things a lot of us do enjoy. So of course, we're not going to leave anybody out of that. Okay, so just diving into a few things from the Pulse app. On the bottom here, we have some 3 different kind of things we can click on. So if I click on upcoming, I have a nice calendar-oriented interface allowing me to see what I'm going to be doing this week, giving me kind of a pulse, pun for sure intended, on my week and letting me see some of the busier times in my week. As you can see, my Monday is going to be really busy. Tuesday's kind of going down, and then Friday again I have a more of a busy day. So again, allowing me to really plan ahead and being able to kind of get in that way. Okay. Another part of the section here we're going to go through is the courses tab, of course, allowing me to access my courses. I can jump into any of these again through the mobile app. Really what's going to happen is it's going to bring me to that browser version on the back end, again, really allowing me to have access no matter what device I'm using. And third and finally, the notifications app on the very bottom is going to let me know exactly what I've missed. Maybe some new things have been added to my course, or perhaps a grade has been added. A really great feature of the Pulse app here is some anonymity features, right? So I actually need to swipe to reveal my grade for a certain assessment. So just in case I'm, around people and I'm on my phone, I'm just peeking at my grade. Maybe it's not 100, right? Sometimes that happens, and I don't necessarily want people to see that. So I can kind of do that as well. Okay. This integration or this app allows you to add things like your iCal feeds, right? So if you are working with Google Docs or the Google Suite or Microsoft OneNote, things like that, it all does come into your Pulse app, and it will integrate with those calendar instances for you as well. So it's not just going to be your coursework here. You can actually add your own and keep on top of things that way. On the top right-hand side of the screen here, we have a little plus button that allows you to see, some new work to do. You can create your own events, absolutely no problem, and then actually be able to link that right to the course that you're working with. So you can give it a title, you can select the course that it's going to be associated with, and kind of percentage worth and the due date. So again, you can create your own instances, absolutely no problem. Okay. And of course, everybody's favorite subject is definitely discussions, right? So just really hitting home on the fact that you can do all the same work from your Pulse app as you would within the browser version, right? So again, back to our awesome sample course that we like working in. We can go back into that, Unit 1 poetry module where we can go through different types of our different content items in the same way we did on our computer, but just in the palm of our hand. I can see again that peer evaluation poem draft. If I did want to do this more on my mobile device, I'd be able to just select that, and it is going to bring me to the same interface that we were just in on our computer, but just again in the palm of my hand on an app, right? So again, going back to that familiar awesome Moose submission by Lee, I can see my feature or my response to his feature presentation, we could call it, and even Amy's, right? So again, I can go back in and be able to navigate between the Brightspace platform, different types of discussions, right? So Amy did a good job, but we found that maybe her poem was a little short. There was some ratings associated with that. So that, of course, is something that can be done within the Brightspace Pulse app. Again, really streamlining that experience for our wonderful students, being able for them to access their courses, see their upcoming events, and have that calendar, feed, really being able to know exactly what's happening within our course and seeing at a glance what our week is going to look like here. Okay. So folks, I'm really happy to say that, we've made it to the end of this specific presentation in terms of the student processes, right? So next up, we're going to have section 3, again, presented by Phil Vole. So that's something I'm sure we're all looking forward to. I just want to say a nice warm thank you to you all. If there are any questions, I will be sticking around to work in the chat. I'd be more than happy to address those with you right away.